Hello and welcome everyone to your 45-minute flow class. Those of you that haven't practiced with me before, my name is Mike, and I'll be here to guide you through this 45-minute practice today. So we're going to get started in a child's pose. I have a couple blocks handy. We have them at home, ready to go. Could be useful for where we're going. To get started, we'll take those knees nice and wide and start to sink the forehead down, either on top of a mat or just down to the top of a block. Allow those hips to start settling down towards the heels. In this space, we start to tune into our breath, taking those deep inhales in through the nose, as deep exhales out through the mouth. And the rise and expansion of the belly with each inhale. Feeling ourselves sink a little deeper away with each exhale. Then gently coming onto the fingertips, walking both hands towards the left. Starting to feel that length through the right side body. So reach those right fingertips out, crawling them a little bit further forward. And continuing to settle into our breath in this space. Gently coming back to fingertips. Guide those hands like two little spiders walking through the center of our mat over towards the right side. And then start to settle in right here. Keeping the hips rooting down towards the heels as we start to feel that length through the left side body. Running one last breath right here. Gently coming back to the fingers. Guide ourselves back through center. Move through a few spinal rolls here. So as you inhale, start to ripple forward. And as those shoulders come up over the wrist, driving the hips down, opening up across the chest. And then leading from the base of the tailbone, settling back to that child's pose. We'll move through that again. So starting to move with your breath here as you inhale to ripple forward. As you exhale, driving those hips down, opening up across the heart space before sinking back to that child's pose. Then with your next inhale, rock up and forward, this time staying in our tabletop position. So adjusting as you need, bringing the knees under the hips, hands directly under the shoulders. First start by warming it up into our wrists, pointing the hands towards the long edge of the mat, maybe getting a little wider. We'll start to take circles into the wrists, making these circles as big or as small, and keeping the pressure pushing strong through both hands. So we're staying broad across the back, feeling that space, that opening into the shoulder girdle. And maybe changing the direction, starting to circle around to the right. Maybe starting to grow those circles, starting to get the hips involved and that full body opening. And gently coming back towards center. We'll turn those hands around so the fingers are pointed back towards the knees. And start to sink back, opening into the wrists. And starting to allow the heels of the hands to come up off the mat as you sink back. And that deep flexion in the front of the forearms. And coming back forward, turning those fingers around, finding our tabletop and a neutral spine. We'll move through a few rounds of our cat-cow. As you inhale, taking that chest and head up. With each exhale, rounding through the spine, finding that deep cat pose. Inhale, the belly sinks as the tailbone lifts. As you exhale, drawing the belly button in towards the spine, rounding it out. And moving through a few more rounds of breath here. Moving your own pace, your own time. Adding any other intuitive movements that may feel good. Moving between these two places. Finding one last round of breath here. And then finding our way up into our first downward dog of class. Lifting those hips up high. Taking a generous bend in the knees here, bending into one knee at a time. Starting to walk that dog out. So warm up into the legs, feeling the length through the hamstrings. Still staying strong through the arms, maintaining that length through the side body. Maybe finding a breath in stillness here, driving both heels down towards the mat. Keeping those long lines of energy. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. And with your next breath, gently start to walk the feet up towards the hands, coming into our first forward fold of class, Uttanasana. Settling in here, maybe grabbing for opposite elbows, again taking a generous bend in the knees here, so we're still warming up the body, and allowing the crown of the head to hang heavy. Maybe gently shaking the head yes, or bending it no. Gently release the hands back down to the mat. And as you inhale, rise up to a flat back. Pushing the crown of the head out long in front of you before folding back in. As you inhale, root to rise, taking those arms all the way up overhead. And we'll exhale to draw the hands through heart center. If you've practiced with me before, you know I always like to warm up, moving through a few rounds of our sun salutation. But before we go there, I'll take a moment to just set an intention for our practice. And with your next inhale, taking those arms up high. We'll exhale to fold, getting into our half sun salutations here. Inhale takes us to flat back. And exhale to fold back in. And as you inhale, root to rise, taking those arms high overhead. And this length as you reach through the fingertips and then draw the hands through heart center. Move through 2 more rounds just like that as you inhale the arms up high and exhale to fold. Inhales take you to flat back and exhale to fold back in. Now root to rise, taking those arms high overhead, maybe introducing a gentle back bend as you reach the top. And then draw those hands through heart center. We'll move through one last round of our half sun salutations. As you inhale the arms up, starting to connect our breath to our movement here as we find our way into that forward fold. Inhaling to a flat back. Exhale to fold back in. Inhale to rise all the way up. Maybe finding that gentle back bend once again. Then drawing the hands through heart center. I'm going to keep it going, getting right into our Surya Namaskar A as you inhale those arms up high. And exhale to fold. Inhale takes us to flat back. This time as you exhale, plant the hands, step the feet to the back of the mat. And for this first one, we'll lower the knees down, taking it nice and gentle. Then begin to shift forward and lower all the way slow and controlled to the belly. As you inhale, draw the chest and head up, finding baby cobra, staying light in the hands. Lowering back down. And as you inhale, finding your way up through your knee plank. Tuck those toes under. We'll take the hips up and back, finding 3 slow, steady breaths right here. Maintaining that good form in our downward dog. And those long lines of energy from the hands through the hips. From the hips down through the heels. And with your next inhale, we'll lift the heels, bend the knees, and step or jump to the front of the mat. Coming back to that forward fold. We'll inhale to flat back. Exhale to fold back in. Inhale, root to rise, taking those arms high overhead. And exhale, draw the hands through heart center. Move through one more round of our Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, takes those arms high to the sky. And exhale to fold. Inhale takes us to flat back. As you exhale, plant the hands, step back to your plank pose. This time maybe staying up on the toes. As we shift forward, bending into the arms, lowering all the way down. And then inhaling to your back bend of choice, either cobra or upward dog. And finding your way up and back to downward dog for 3 slow, steady breaths here once again. The armpits wrapping in so we stay broad across the back, staying strong in our arms. Let's draw the belly button in towards the spine. And then with your next inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees. Inhale the left leg up. Draw that left knee up in between the hands, lowering the right knee down, getting set up for a low lunge. We'll inhale those arms up high overhead. Keeping everything stacked over the tailbone here. And then coming into a twist, drawing right hand to the outer edge of the left knee, left hand to the low back. Peeling the chest open towards the left side of the room. Maybe that gaze comes past the left shoulder. And as you inhale, drawing those hands back through center. We're going to find a little flow here, so maybe reaching for your blocks. We're going to be shifting from a low lunge into a half splits. Let's find that nice, deep position, taking the blocks at whatever setting. We'll inhale, pulling the chest and head through, driving the hips down, and as you exhale, sink the hips back, and the toes nice and active as you find that half splits. And then inhale, draw you forward, pulling the chest through. And exhale to sink it back. Move between these 2 spaces as we start to find that flow within the body. Exhale, finding that half splits. Inhale to rock back forward. Then taking those blocks off to the side, we'll plant the hands on either side of the foot and step that left foot back, finding downward dog. An option here to move through vinyasa. Playing forward through plank and then finding your back bend of choice, either cobra or upward dog, before finding our way back into our downward dog. Getting right into the second side, we'll inhale that right leg high and then step it through between the thumbs, lowering the left knee down. Inhale, finding our low lunge, those arms nice and long. Get into our twist, nice and gentle here to start, but still keeping everything stacked. So we're strong in the legs as we twist from the belly button up. And then with your next inhale, rising back through center. And exhale to draw the hands on either side of that front foot. Take the blocks down, if you have them there, and we'll move through that same little flow on the other side. So as you inhale, pulling that chest and head through. And exhale, sink it back, keeping those toes nice and active on the right foot. Exhale, driving those hips down towards that right heel. And then exhale to sink it back. Moving through one last time here. And exhale takes you back. With your next inhale, rocking back forward. Take those blocks off to the side, plant the hands on either side of the foot, and step back to your downward dog. An option here to flow through vinyasa. Moving through your plank and lowering down either knees, chest, chin, or through chaturanga to your back bend of choice. And finding your way back to your downward dog. Moving at your own pace, your own time. And with your next inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees, and we'll step or jump to the front of our mat. And back to our forward fold, inhaling to flat back. And exhale to fold back in. Inhale, rise all the way up. Draw those hands through heart center. We'll get right into it. So this next sequence, we're going to be finding a little bit of flow. We'll go through this sequence 3 rounds, but for this first round, and take it nice and slow, introducing each movement, and then subsequent rounds we'll Try to find our flow. So we'll inhale those arms up. And exhale to fold. Inhale up to a flat back. This time as you exhale, plant the hands, and we'll step back to a downward dog. And then as you inhale, take that left leg high to the sky. Finding that length, driving through the left heel, and then come high on the right toes. Draw the left knee in towards the chest, stepping it through between the thumbs. Lower the right knee down, and inhale those arms up, finding a low lunge. Just like we did in the last sequence. And then as you exhale, drawing the hands down to frame that front foot. We'll shift the hips back, finding a half splits. And with your next inhale, rocking back forward, bending into that left knee. Tuck those right toes under and draw ourselves up, taking that right knee off the mat, coming into our crescent lunge. Settling the hips in here, bending deep into that front leg. Then taking both arms out long in front of us. And then like you're drawing a bow, we'll start to pull that left hand across the chest, coming into a twist. Settling into this space. And then from here, making one movement, the left arm swinging, little right hand going overhead. We'll open it up into a warrior two. Keeping our shoulders stacked over hips, stretching long from fingertip to fingertip. And drawing our hands toward heart center, bringing the thumbs over the heart space, straighten through the left leg, and we'll sink into the right leg, finding our Skandasana pose. Rocking on to that left heel, keeping those toes nice and active. You always have the option here to place hands down on a mat, or get seated on a block, make the space accessible. From here, we'll shift forward, bending into that left knee, plant the right hand on the inside of the foot. We'll stretch the left hand high to the sky. Finding that twist, stacking the shoulders here. And bringing the gaze back down to the front of the mat. Walk those hands just in front of the left foot. Find a little bounce and take ourselves up to a standing splits. Driving that right heel as high as you can. Then bend the knee. We'll gently walk the hands over towards the left as you open that knee up, feeling the space through the right side body. Then coming back to center. We'll float the right foot off the left edge of the mat as you plant the right hand down. Placing the outer edge of the right foot down on the ground and stretch the left hand high to the sky. And that deep stretch through the left outer hip. And from this space, bringing our gaze back down to the front of the mat, getting rooted into the left foot. We'll start to press in, pushing our way up into our warrior three. Then from here, swinging that right leg out wide, take it all the way in front of you, standing nice and tall with the foot stretched out front. And then swing it back around, finding our warrior three once again, playing with the balance here. Bending into the left knee, we'll step the right foot to the back of the mat, plant the hands. An option here to come to a downward dog, or flow your way through vinyasa, flushing that out. That's the sequence, and we're going to repeat that on the other side. Again, just first starting with a nice slow movement here as we inhale the right leg up. Spending a little bit extra time and extra breath in each pose as we plant the right foot and lower the left knee down. Inhale those arms high overhead. Settling in here. Always keeping those long lines of energy through the arms. And bring the hands down to the mat. We'll start to straighten through the right leg. Finding our half splits. And you always have option to Stay with the blocks here if you want that added space in your half splits or any of these other positions. And bending back into the right knee, tuck those left toes under and come up onto the left toes, finding our crescent lunge. Reaching long through those fingertips, settling into that right thigh, starting to feel the fire build. Then drawing both hands out in front of us. And as you inhale, like you're drawing a bow, we'll pull that right hand across the chest, opening up into our twist. Feeling the length from fingertip to fingertip, but still staying strong and active through the legs, scissoring the inner thighs. Then making one motion, we'll draw that right hand low as the left hand goes high, spinning it open into our warrior two, dropping that left heel down and settling in. And drawing those hands towards center, sink back into our Skandasana, rocking onto the right heel and sinking the hips low, settling into this space. And then shifting our weight towards the front of the mat, bending into the right knee. We'll plant the left hand on the inside of the right foot and inhale the right hand high to the sky. One last breath here. We're bringing the gaze down to the front of the mat, gently walking those hands just in front of the foot, and then stepping up to your standing splits. Gently bending the knee, walking both hands towards the right, feeling that opening through the left side body. Coming back to center, then planting that left hand at the top left corner. Float that left leg round off that right edge of the mat and inhale to draw the right hand high. And that deep stretch, deep sensation through the right outer hip. Bringing the gaze back down to the front of the mat, pressing into the right foot. We'll float our way up into our warrior three, pressing strong through that right leg, reaching long through the back heel, and then standing tall. Start to draw that left leg around towards the front of the room, pressing it out in front of you just for a moment, and then swinging it back around, finding our warrior three just for a moment before bending back into that right knee and gently floating the left toes to the back of the mat. And inhale to find your lunge, and exhale to step it back. An option here to move, flow it out, moving through vinyasa. Finding our way back to our downward dog. Maybe moving through a few spinal rolls or any other movements here. Before we start to pick up the pace, going to be starting to find the same sequence, but flow it all together a little bit quicker. So we'll inhale and step back to the front of the mat, coming into a forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. And exhale to fold back in. And as you inhale, root to rise, taking those arms high overhead. And exhale, draw those hands through heart center. And here's where we'll start to pick things up. So trying to make one breath to one movement, keeping everything connected here. Still standing tall in your Tadasana, maybe realigning yourself with the intention you set you for your practice. So you inhale those arms high to the sky, and exhale to fold. Inhale takes you to flat back. And as you exhale, plant the hands, step back to downward dog, getting right into it. So you inhale, that left leg goes high to the sky. Then draw the left knee forward, stepping between the thumbs, and we'll lower the right knee down. Inhale takes you up to your low lunge, and exhale back to your half splits. So you inhale, rock forward, pressing into the toes, come up to your crescent lunge, and then moving right into your twist, peeling that arm open. Left hand goes low, right hand goes high, spinning open to your warrior two. Then drawing the hands to center as you sink into Skandasana just for a moment. Shifting back towards the front of the mat. Plant the right hand down and open up to your twist. You're going to gaze down to the front of the mat. Walk those hands forward. Press up, finding standing splits. And bringing our gaze back to center. Planting that right hand firm. We'll float the right leg off the left edge of the mat. And draw the left hand high to the sky. Bring the gaze back down, draw the hands to heart center, and push your way up into Warrior 3. From here, starting to stand up, drawing that right leg around towards the front of the room, just for a moment. We're taking it right back, finding our Warrior 3, bending into the left knee, and stepping back, finding Crescent Lunge, just for a breath. And as you exhale, hands plant around the front foot, and moving through Vinyasa, or just stepping back to Downward Dog. Moving right into the second side. So as you inhale, taking that right leg high to the sky. And exhale to start to draw it forward. Stepping that foot up between the thumbs, lowering the left knee down. We'll inhale, finding that low lunge. And right away, as you exhale, straightening through the right leg, finding that half splits. Inhale draws you forward, finding Crescent Lunge as that left knee lifts. And then as you exhale, pulling the chest open, drawing the arms across, finding our twist. Pull that right hand towards the back of the room, then windmill the arms open, opening up to our Warrior 2. And sink down, finding Skandasana pose. And then shifting our way forward, planting the left hand on the inside of the right foot, open up to your twist. Walk both hands in front of that right foot. Step up into our standing splits. Moving pretty quick here. Hopefully you're matching your breath, your movement to find your own flow here. So flesh the left hand down, float the left leg off the right edge of the mat, opening up to our twist. Bring the gaze down, then press your way up into your Warrior 3. Staying nice and tall, we'll start to draw that left leg around towards the front of the room. And then gently guide it back, finding our Warrior 3. Bending into the right knee, float the left toes towards the back of the mat. And inhale, find Crescent Lunge. And as you exhale, bring the hands down to frame that front foot. And we'll step back. Downward Dog, an option to move through a Vinyasa, flushing that out. We'll all meet back in a Downward Dog. Having a moment here. Then with your next inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees, and step or jump to the front of the mat, coming back to our forward fold. We'll inhale to a flat back, and exhale to fold back in. And inhale, root to rise, taking those arms high overhead. And we'll exhale to draw those hands through heart center. Finding a moment here before getting into our last round. Hopefully now, understanding, knowing that sequence a little bit, we can start to find some fluidity through the movements, fluidity through the breath, connecting the mind, the breath, the body, all into one continuous flow. So inhale those arms high to the sky. And exhale to fold. Inhale to flat back. And exhale, plant the hands, step back to Downward Dog. And getting right into it, inhale that left leg up. Then coming up on the right toes, draw that left foot between the thumbs and we'll lower the right knee down. Inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, find your half splits. And right away, rocking forward, pressing into the right toes. We'll come up into our Crescent Lunge. Draw the hands out in front. Pull the left arm back, finding our twist. Windmill the arms open, dropping the right heel down to our Warrior 2. And sink down to our Skandasana pose. Shifting forward, press that right hand firm and open up into a twist. And bring the gaze down to the front of the mat. Press up, finding our standing splits. Just for a moment, and then floating that right leg off the left edge of the mat. Stretch that left hand high to the sky. And then pressing into the left foot, we'll find our warrior three. We're standing up tall, drawing that right foot towards the front of the room. And then swinging it back, finding that warrior three as you bend into the left leg. Rise up to your crescent lunge, and as you exhale, plant the hands on either side of the foot and move through your vinyasa. We'll all meet back in a downward dog. Getting ready to move into our final side here. So inhale that right leg up. And then draw the foot up between the thumbs, lower the left knee down. We'll inhale those arms high overhead. As you exhale, finding your half splits. Finding your flow here as you inhale to rock forward, pressing into the left toes, rise up into your crescent lunge. Put the hands out in front of you, pull it open into your twist. Inhale the arms open into warrior two, then sink it back, rocking into that right heel. Shifting forward, press that left hand into the mat, find your twist, and bring the gaze down to the front of the mat. Walk those hands forward, press up, finding our standing splits here. Last time in this pose, drawing that left hand down to the top left corner, floating the left leg off the right edge, and bringing the gaze down to the front of the mat. Press it up into our warrior three, letting all the length in your body you can, and then draw that left leg around to the front of the room. Swing it towards the back, coming back to that warrior three, right away bending into that right knee. We'll step back, finding our crescent lunge. Inhale, arms up, and exhale to frame that front foot. Moving through our final vinyasa. And all meet back in our downward dog. Finding a moment here, settling in this downward dog. As we start to cool things down, we'll inhale that left leg high to the sky. Come up on the right toes and draw the left foot towards the outer edge of the mat. And lower the right knee down, getting set up for a lizard lunge here. And I like to keep the knee tracking a little bit, either above the ankle or just behind it. And then start to draw the hips down towards the mat. Settling down either onto the forearms. Maybe you grab a block and bring your arms on top of the block. Whatever your body's asking for today, honor the body you brought here with you. So we start to cool things down. Coming back onto our hands. Gently press into the right toes and step back to your downward dog. Get ready to switch it over to the other side. Pedaling that out. Inhale that right leg high. And then drawing the right foot towards the outer edge of the mat. Step up into our lizard, lower the left knee down. And find your expression again. Any blocks or props you need in this space. Maybe on this side you think a little bit more about driving the hips down to the mat, or even rolling onto the outer edge of the right foot, opening up the hips even more, exploring our bodies, exploring what it's capable of. For a few more breaths right here. Before coming back onto the hands, walking them back under the shoulders, pressing into the toes. Step back to our downward dog. Pedal that out. And gently lower the knees down towards the mat. And sit the hips on top of the heels. Letting a few breaths right here. Letting that all settle in. And we're going to be moving in to a reclined hero's pose. So maybe grabbing a block and placing that between the legs. maybe something to sit on, or just sitting the hips down towards the heels. Bring the knees nice and wide and keeping the knees driving into the mat. We'll start to walk the hands back, settling into this pose. That action of keeping the knees driving into the mat will help open up into our quads even more. So if you feel the knees lifting, maybe just walking the hands back towards the hips a little bit. And then once you find your expression settling into this space, maybe allowing the head drop towards the back of the room, opening up into the throat. And when you're ready, we'll gently start to pull our way up out of it, walking the hands back towards the hips, and walk them towards the front of the mat. And we'll cross the ankles and come into a seat, taking those legs towards the front of the mat, sitting up nice and tall. Then we'll rock down onto our spine. We'll be coming into a thread the needle pose here. To plant the feet firmly on the ground. We'll start off with the left side, so stretching the right leg long. Take that right ankle, take it top of the thigh. You can come into any variation, any depth of this pose. Maybe it's sitting right here, just pushing that right knee open, open the hip, where we start to reach through, grabbing behind the knee, maybe even reaching around, clasping those hands over the shin. Wherever you are, I want you to focus on keeping the tailbone and the shoulders rooting down into the mat below you. The entire length of our spine is touching down. As we settle into this space, feel that deep opening through the hips. And gently releasing that foot. Take your time, switching it over to the other side, planting the right foot down. And taking the left leg long. And then reaching, then pulling that left ankle over top right thigh. Settling into your thread the needle on the other side. Again, whatever expression that may be for you today. Another variation is if you want to straighten through that right leg, getting a little added hamstring stretch. But always thinking, keeping the feet flexed, help protect the knees. We'll gently release that side. Bring our feet come back down towards the mat. And uncross the legs. And gently draw both knees in towards the chest. A nice tight squeeze here. And coming into our final twist of class, we'll take those shins parallel to the mat, arms out in a nice wide T. Taking a deep inhale. As you exhale, gently allowing both knees to come down towards the left. Maybe bringing that gaze past the right shoulder. As you settle in, adding any props, anything else you need, maybe a block between the thighs or under the knees. Allowing yourself to feel safe and secure, nice and stable in this posture. So you're just using it as a moment to give our spine a chance to reset, come back to that state of equilibrium before carrying on with our day. Your next inhale, gently guiding those knees back through center. Maybe pausing at the top just for a moment, or gently guiding the knees down towards the other side. And settling in here, feeling the fruits of our labor after such a strong class, after finding so much flow in your practice. A little quicker than normal, but really exploring that feeling of connecting breath to our movement, You're making everything become one unified energy, one unified source. Settle in for one last breath here. And then gently guiding those knees back towards center. Give yourself one last final squeeze of the knees in towards the chest. Maybe wrapping the arms around the thighs. Give yourself a nice big hug here. Giving all the love, all the gratitude for yourself, for showing up today. Putting all that work into our mat. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, extend the heels to the corners of the mat. Turn the palms face up. Let's come into your Shavasana. Taking up as much space as you need right here. Giving yourself one last full body scan. Seeing if there's any areas that are still holding on. And seeing what you can do to surrender in. And fully let yourself be supported and grounded by the earth below you. More than welcome to take as much time as you need, remaining in this Shavasana position. If you're with me, we'll gently start to deepen back into our breath, finding our way back to our body. Gently start to find some movement, starting very gentle, wiggling through the fingers, the toes, and slowly allowing that movement to grow, getting into the wrists, the ankles, the knees, the elbows, letting it get bigger and bigger until you take it into a full body stretch, stretching those arms out high overhead, feet stretched long below you, feeling length through every part of your body. And gently coming over to one side or the other, finding your way into a little fetal position. One last moment of rest before gently guiding yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. Where we'll close out our practice here today, finding one collective breath together, bringing our left hand to our heart space, right hand to our low belly. We'll take a deep inhale. And exhale it out the mouth, let it go. And thank you all for joining me here today and allowing me to share my practice with you, about each and every one of you. Namaste.